Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. I am Sabir Hasnain, your science subject teacher from grade 8. In this video lecture, we will start our next chapter related to salts, which is chapter number 9 from your book. So, a salt is actually a chemical and a solid substance which is produced by the reaction of an acid with a base, or we can say a salt is made whenever an acid is neutralized either by an alkali or a base. So whenever we add acids and bases or alkalis, we can get salt. So the name of the salt depends on the acid and the compound that is used to neutralize it. There are various type of salts here. Iron chloride, FeCl2, the formula is given at the bottom. Magnesium chloride, MgCl2, zinc chloride, ZnCl2, sodium chloride, NaCl, potassium chloride, KCl, and aluminum sulfate, Al2SO4 3, copper sulfate, CuSO4, and copper chloride, Cul2. And in these, if we'll consider the example of sodium chloride is also called table salt, and it is most common use to add in our food for the taste. And copper sulfate, CuSO4, it is used for coloring the glasses as well. And calcium chloride, which is not given in the figure, and calcium CaCl2, that is used for making cheese. And MgSO4, which is also not given here. MgSO4 is a common the common name of MgSO4 is Epsom salt, and that is used for medication as well. Now definitely everything has its own properties. The properties for every chemical will be every substance will be physical properties and the chemical properties. In this lecture, we will discuss the physical properties of the salts. Salts are actually solids, so most of the salts are in solid state. Different salts have different taste. So salts, whenever we add strong acid with a strong base, we will get a strong salt. So salts of strong acid and strong bases gives strong salts, and they are often odorless, they have no smell. Similarly, if we add weak acids or weak bases, by adding them we get a salt which is a weak salt, and that may smell a little bit. So the further physical properties are, some salts have small amount of water, and that they form the crystals of those salts as well. It means the salts that contain the small amount of water, and when they form crystals, the water contained in that salt, keep in mind, the water contained in that salt crystals is called water of crystallization. That is called water of crystallization. Most of the salts will be dissolvable in water. Few are slightly soluble, and some are insoluble in water as well. Salts have high melting point as well. Even every salt has high melting point. If we consider the example of sodium chloride, which is NaCl, the melting point of sodium chloride is 801 centigrade. So naming salts, we can name the salts as well. Definitely, as we discussed, every salt has its own name. So the name of the salts has actually two parts. The first part that comes from the metal, and the second part that comes from metal or metal oxides or metal carbonates, and second part comes from the acid. Suppose if we use hydrochloric acid, then hydrochloric acid is a salt. So one part comes from the acid. This is the acid. So definitely one part comes from the acid as well. And the second part, as I told you, comes from the metal or metal oxides or metal carbonates. If we look back again at the previous figure, so look at this figure again, these formulas again. As I told you, one part is from the metal and other part from the acid. Iron chloride, the blue color is actually the iron chloride, iron. And if we further discuss the further example, magnesium chloride, magnesium is from the metal and Cl2 is from the acid. Zinc chloride, zinc is from the metal and chlorine is from the acid. Sodium chloride, sodium is from the metal and chlorine is from the acid. So these are the examples in which chloride is used, which is from HCl. So as I told you, one part is from the metal and other part is from the chloride. And the next, if we look at the copper sulfate and aluminium sulfate, in this copper sulfate and aluminium sulfate, copper is the metal and SO4 is from the acid. And for aluminium sulfate, aluminium is from the metal and SO4 is from the acid as well. So we will discuss the second one in next. So now this, I hope the point is clear now. The first part comes from the metal and this, or metal oxides or metal carbonates, and which is metal. If iron chloride, so iron is the part of the metal, and the second part is from the acid, which is, for example, HCl. So HCl will be there, which is the chlorine. And we discuss the chloride is now, if we use the sulfuric acid, H2SO4, SO4 portion will be used, which is aluminium sulfate. We discussed the aluminium sulfate. So aluminium sulfate, aluminium is the metal and sulfate is from the acid, sulfuric acid. So this is how we can we can name different salts. Another example is magnesium sulfate. Magnesium is metal and sulfate is from sulfuric acid. So I hope you understand how we can name different salts. Thank you very much. In next video we will discuss how we can make salt